Wake up, wake up. Rape the world and take away the layers of her skin. Fractured and divided, and she may let you in. Only for a moment will she tolerate your greed. Gas and oil and broken soil exceeds what you need. Wake up, you can hear her cries. Wake up, stop trying to deny what you do and what you use has no consequence on you. Wake up, wake up. Ravaged and disfigured, we have left her no defense. She screams for life and love, but we don't make amends. We think entitlement, we have the right to take and take away from her without sacrifice. Wake up, you can hear her cries. Wake up, stop trying to deny what you do and what you use has no consequence on you. Wake up, wake up.
We are the air, we are the water, we are the sun, we carry the fire. There is no greater message, there is no greater lessons. Our lives come from our essence. Wake up and heed the message, though we have gone astray. Your time is now or never. We have to come together, we have to find our way back to that sacred balance. We have to stop the damage, this is our final challenge. Together we soar, divided we fall. This is bigger than activism, bigger than racism. Our mother is screaming out, hoes I sustain the doubt. No more debating the facts, and stop all these heinous acts. Humanity depends on this pact. Just staying rock solid and tall. This ain't a hip-hop song, this is an action call. We gotta stand up and fight the powers that be. Together, one universal family. Wake up!
Who will be her voice? She has given you a choice. Decide where you stand on this sacred land. This is not a native issue or activism or racism. This is all the work together, standing strong as her protectors. Wake up, you can hear her cries. Wake up, stop trying to deny what you do and what you use has no consequence on you. Wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up. Just tell me which side of history you're on. Now, tell me which side are you on?
Which side you on?
So long. Which side of history do you belong?
Yes, from the mountains to the sea and from the forest to the desert and to all those Indian canoes out on the lakes, the rivers, and the ocean. Wake up, wake up, wake up, Mr. and Mrs. Indigenous America. This is Indigeneity Rising, heard only on KFEI, Fresh Air, Community Radio, and Community Media. We are 42 years of radio without boundaries. We're heard locally at 90.3 FM HD here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and we are live on the web at kfei.org. We are also on Facebook Live this afternoon, so you can check us out there, or I believe you can also check us out live on the KFEI website as well. So try either one of those. Well, I'm Roy Taylor, Pawnee Nation. That's of Oklahoma, for your host for news, analysis, commentary, conversation, and yes, inspiration about Indigenous peoples, Native American identity, reality, and experience. And this is the episode for Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. It is the last episode for January in this, the beginning of the new year. I can't remember in the Asian zodiac what year it is, but I'll check on that and try and find that out for you. Well, I'm not in studio for directions at the mothership there at KFEI on the West Bank, but I am here in Studio Stronghold in my personal residence. And we are on the banks of the beautiful Minnehaha Creek in South Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that is in Turtle Island. We're going to send our signal out across the Milky Way today into the universe, and we're going to make our ancestors proud. I can tell you that. I've got a great guest. And we've got a great topic because it is the life and the accomplishments and the inspiration of Laura Waterman Whitstock. She was Seneca from Cattaraugus in New York, and she recently passed away. But the person I've invited to come on today is, I'll tell you about in just a minute, and then he can tell us a little bit more about himself. And we're just going to sit back and reminisce a little about Laura's life and her work with us. She brought both of us in as colleagues and then mentors. And so it was a great life and a great time that we shared with her. But I just want to remind you, we start every program, every episode, every week with Kelly Jackson. She's Lac de Flambeau from northern Wisconsin, but she's now residing in South Central Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. That was Wake Up. That was inspired by her time at Standing Rock, which is now going on about, I think, 4 or 5 years there in South Dakota. That's Wake Up from Songs of an Ikwa. So that's her CD or her pressing of that, along with Theo Yancey, who's on the hip hop interlude there as well. So Wake Up. And they always ask at the end, what side of history are you going to be on? And my reply, if you're on the side of Indigenous people and Native American First Nations people, you are going to be on the right side of history. And I think we're already beginning to see some of that in the new Biden administration here in the US. But of course, as journalists, reporters, observers, commenters, many of us are going to be keeping our eye on the administration and what it is intending to do in the next 4 years. And my guest today, Gary D. Fife, who is Muskogee Creek and part Cherokee, originally from Oklahoma, but he's been all over the United States, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about that. And he has over 40 years. The time that I've been up here in Minnesota, he has 40 years of experience as a journalist, reporter, commentator, observer, broadcaster. And I can just tell you a little bit about that. Some of the illustrious accomplishments he's had putting together National Native News, which I believe now is out of New Mexico, but at that time it was up in Alaska. He was involved with Laura Waterman Whitstock in establishing, along with Mark Trahant, the American Indian Press Association. So he came in on that as well. And then when I met him, which was, well, we won't say how old or how long ago that was, Gary. People might be wondering then how old we are. But that was here in Minneapolis. He was the first managing editor and the news director for Begeezy Communications and First Person Radios. So welcome, Noah. How are you, Gary?
HJ Stongo, Gary Fife, Jaho Jifkados, Muskogee.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Oklahoma. So
It's good.
there's my Creek language for the morning here. I'm doing fine. Actually, you caught me in an extremely busy period. You know, the virus has gotten many of our tribal employees working from home, and people here they're not. But I have to come in because I have to do a radio show too, which I just finished this morning. It's Muskogee Radio. We talked about how one of our communities is dealing with the loss of their language resource people to the COVID virus. So we had quite a discussion. Plus, I'm talking with you here on about a very dear friend of ours, a sister. And at the moment, I'm getting a request to do a voiceover for an elders Medicaid program. So heck of a day here. You know how it goes.
Tell us.
Sometimes it's
when is the
quiet, nothing
broadcast
happens,
on?
and then all
It's on
hell breaks
Wednesdays,
loose.
right?
So here we are. It's
Yeah,
good
your
to
broadcast
see you
is
again.
on.
It's good to see you
Yeah, it's
again.
good to see you too. Your broadcast is at Wednesdays. What time?
Well, Yeah, we just aired 10 a.m.
Yeah, that's
It's
Central Time, right?
10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Right, right.
And you can
And
probably hear it online up there
that's
on
what I was going to say. You must stream it, huh?
1240thebrew.com.
The Brew. Okay, all
The
right.
program is Muskogee. Yeah, plus, we do it live on AM and FM frequencies.
Right,
So,
right.
it's a heck of a show. If you aren't there, you aren't there. And then when you screw up. So it's been a heck of a morning here, trying to fit all this together and, collect some thoughts on our dear sister, Laura.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon. It kind of brings back a lot of old memories. A lot of people who are active even in news today, broadcasting in the Indian country, they don't even know where the original location was where
Doesn't
we settled in. I think it was originally across the street on Franklin Avenue at the Indian Center. And then when you and I were associated with First Person Radio, it was a syndicated, recorded news program, a half-hour program, and we recorded it upstairs in an old dentist's office there, right on the corner of Franklin and I believe that's Bloomington Avenue. So that's where our offices were in our studio. Of course, I'll mention some of these people you may recall. Mike Dalby, who is also now deceased, but he was our engineer and our construction manager and producer, sort of all hands on deck guy. Bob Metoxen, remember? It's Oneida. He used to read the news
Right.
for us. And then who else was? Oh, we had a lot of young people who were involved in the broadcast. A lot of reporters. Scott Raymond, he's still around. Jackie Dion, who works for the Department of Health now. And there was the one fellow, we were trying to establish that partnership with WOJB up on the Cruderay Reservation in Hayward, Wisconsin. I can't remember what his name was, Dick something or other. And so there are a lot
Dick
of us.
Lyons.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Dick
So
Lyons, or Sandy Lyons and Dick Brooks.
Dick Brooks, yes.
Does that sound familiar?
Okay. Yes, yes,
Okay,
there you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
There you go. But before we get to some of that, talking about Laura, just tell us what you've been up to. Like you said, you're taking the safety precautions with COVID there. You're the voice, I think, of Muskogee Radio every week. Sounds like you're very busy with other audio projects, just almost very similar to what I'm involved in. But tell us quickly about that American Indian Press Association, the National Native News. If there was anything else, I think you were at Wounded Knee as well, weren't you? In '73?
No,
No.
I was in D.C. during Wounded Knee, and Dick LaCourse was actually out there,
Oh, okay. All right.
and so we received his feeds back at the office in Washington D.C. I was working with our dear beloved Chuck Trimble at the time too,
Oh,
and
yeah. Okay.
of course Laura went through there, Rose Robinson, a couple of others, and that was I like to think of it as the genesis of American Indian news on a national scale.
Right.
Up
Right.
until then, we had a lot of local programs and news, monthly newsletters from tribes and reservations, and then what was that big one there? Gosh, came out of New York. What was that?
Oh, Akwesasne?
There we are,
Yeah, Akwesasne
Akwesasne. Yeah,
Notes. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of advocacy reporting kind of things. But I like to point out the fact that American Indian Press Association functioned like a real press. I
Right.
mean, we
Right.
had both sides of the story, and occasionally it made us a little unpopular with our red brethren and sistren. But we just sort of dealt with it. I mean, you got to know both sides of a story to really be effective at making change, and that's what we strive to do. Uh, I think it made quite an impact. We had quite a membership from Native journalists across the nation who received our weekly packets of information. Now, we produced all this on the old Mimeo machine. Remember those?
Yeah.
I think actually Laura, she crowned it and named it Yvette Mimeo. So So that's
The
how we
French
got the
actress,
news
yeah.
on it. Yeah, and uh, it was at a point where a lot of press was go get the white man kind of stuff, which is okay for what it is, but if you really want to be effective, I think you need both sides of the story, and that's the training I got in college.
Right.
And then I left this small college there in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and was immediately placed with the Indian Legal Information Development Service in D.C., being run by none other than Laura Waterman Woodstock. And that really opened my eyes to actually what we needed, because that little office looked at every piece of legislation that went through Congress and analyzed it, so to speak, for any implications for Native America. And no one was thinking much beyond the Interior Department, but we were looking, at labor and commerce and even the Department of Defense, and saying, all of these things affect our people, not just the Interior and the BIA. And that really opened my eyes to a much larger world. And Laura was the one that coached me through it and helped me understand what I was looking at. And of course, we were a small community there, and had the chance to socialize together. All of us kind of ran together in one little group, including Laura, myself, and Dick LaCourse, and of course Chuck, and then other people who worked in our field got together, and we tried to bring out the issues, and found it quite a challenge, because many of the people, even in Native journalism today, were kind of looking at us and, what the heck are you guys doing? We're here to work for money and not issues. What are you doing? And, so we just sort of looked at it and kind of took it, because we were there for issues, because it certainly was not money we were making.
Well,
But,
I was kind of surprised that I was reminded that you also were involved in National Native News, which is a broadcast service now. And that must have been after your time at McGeezy. And so you were up in Alaska as well?
right. Yeah,
'Cause
I came from DC there in Minneapolis, and then was unemployed for a bit, and then got an offer from the folks who were running the Alaska Public Radio Network. And they had a new idea for a project for a weekday native radio news service. Now, I emphasize the word news and not advocacy, although, once again, we saw that happen, and, people like AIM were all over our backs, and things like that. And we were called sellouts and whatever else. But we were able to produce that newscast with like a 5-minute news followed by a 5-minute feature piece. So we did the
Right.
news and we did culture, and we're able to serve our Native American community stations, and including KFAI, with the best, I think, quality Native American news that had ever been produced to that point. So here we are in Alaska, at the end of the time zones, far from Native America, except for the Alaska Native communities, and trying to make our way through the public radio maze and of priorities and things, and show them we were serious. Now, we were successful in putting, I think, one of the, we opened the eyes, I think, at NPR to begin with, and then later on, what was American Public Radio, the Klingons, if you remember.
Yes, Bill Kling.
Yeah, and then we had to convince the rest of the public radio that we were serious and we could deliver a product that had never been done before. Now, they were expecting us to do what I used to call the drunk or the dancer stories. the poverty porn kind of thing, or
Right.
beautiful powwow dancers, that nothing in between. And so we were beginning to educate them, saying, hey, there's a whole lot more going on down here. And also to teach their reporters to cover Native American issues in their own communities. And it wasn't, drunk or dancers. And I think opened a lot of eyes there. I love using that phrase, but saying, there's a whole lot more going on. And most people know more about our dead ancestors than they do the tribe living down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able to get a foothold there. And I think we, at one point, really dominated the news production broadcast in public radio, because we were year after year knocking down top prizes for our coverage. And people were thanking us for putting that out that had never been there. And then their reporters were able to, I think, better cover their own communities. And believe it or not, began to win some prizes off of the stories we had sent them and commissioned them to do.
Right.
So we did that educational process. We had to convince these news directors that we were not going to come on, screaming, the American colonialists continued to oppress freedom-loving natives. More after this.
Right. Flash news, right? Stay tuned to this special bulletin.
You got it, yeah. And then,
hey, Gary, you know what? I've got to take a quick break here.
Then they began to see what.
So can I put you on hold there? We're going to put a little bookmark there in that timeline, and then we'll be right back with you in about a minute. I've got some announcements we have to play here, and then we'll be back to talk. And then we want to get into this, talking a little bit more about Laura and what she kind of meant to all of us, and particularly how she affected us as colleagues and as a mentor to many of us. But just a reminder, this is KFEI Fresh Air Community Radio. We're heard locally at 90.3 FM HD in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and we're on the web at kfei.org. We're also on Facebook Live this afternoon. I'll be right back with you. My name is Roy Taylor. I'm the host of Indigeneity Rising. My guest today is Gary Fife and Muskogee Creek. We're talking about Laura Waterman Woodstock, remembering her life and her legacy as well. All right, I'll be right back with you.
All right, you media dogs, let's review how you did on the obstacle course. Commercial radio.
Here.
You did good in cars, but you are completely predictable.
It's part of my charm, sir.
Podcasts.
Here.
You excelled at specialty subjects, but all you do is talk. Don't you ever play any music?
Not when I can help it, sir.
Television.
Here.
No one likes you.
Oh.
Internet.
Here.
You're trying to do too much.
That's my thing, sir.
All you dogs need to be more like KFAI. KFAI has radio, podcasts, and internet, and they're never predictable. Now I want everybody to go to kfai.org.
What about television?
Drop your socks and give me 90.3.
Our supporters help power the content you love. Help fuel our frequencies by becoming a monthly donor today at kfai.org/donate.
Welcome back to KFEI Fresh Air Community Radio, Community Media, 90.3 FM HD in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and on the web at kfei.org. Thanks for that reminder about supporting KFEI. We've got some great programs here. Some of them are specifically focused on Native Americans, Indigenous people as well, Robert Pilot and Native Roots Radio. And I know we've got several other programs with Native hosts on Mondays as well. So continue to provide us with that support. That's a great reminder as well. And always stay tuned. We might have more news about upcoming spring, summer, and fall membership pledge drives as well, supporting programs like Indigeneity Rising. Okay, I'm back here. I was going to just mention to you, let's keep up to COVID precautions, even though we've got a vaccine going. I happen to see a photo of Gary Fife getting the first round. I don't know if he's gotten the second one, but and you always see me beginning every program with my mask on, even though it's a small bubble here at my residence. And I mentioned to everyone last week that I got the first round of the Moderna vaccine as well. So looking forward to getting that. No reactions for me. How about you, Gary?
None. I thought at least my arm might be sore from where they poked me, but nope. Got lucky, no problems at all.
Right. Well, let's see. We were talking about National Native News. You know, as you may know, Antonio Gonzalez anchors that now every day. Kohanik Broadcasting, I believe, out of Alaska, has taken that over. And Native Voice One is the network. They do a lot of different programming throughout. You know, it's really interesting to see how radio and podcasting now have taken over. Anyone who can get access to a microphone and maybe either a broadcast feed or can get access to SoundCloud, they can put something together, 15 minutes, half hour, a whole hour, and that native indigenous voice is out there everywhere. So people like you and I, we're starting to become the graybeards, literally.
Yeah, I've got a few gray ones. You know, let me interject this while we're talking history there. I actually had, I believe it might have been the first Native American program on Fresh Air. That's when it was back in the bell tower at the church.
Yes, yeah.
The old fire trap there.
Yeah, Walker
Yeah,
Church, I think.
Yeah, it was a program I called Eardrums. You know, native news and music and whatever I thought about to poke Uncle Sam in the rib cage with my elbow. So it was, I go back a long way. I was actually on the board of directors there too.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. I'll start mentioning that whenever we talk about the history. You know, we've been, like I said, 42 years on the air, and now moving into digital media. So it's available, you know, streaming around the world. And
Programming is supported by Two Betties. Two Betties uses no toxic chemicals, and they respect their employees by giving them a living wage and supportive benefits. You might not know that Two Betties also offers a range of eco-friendly household cleaning products. Whether you're looking for cleaners or sanitizers, wood polish, or heavy-duty stain removers, you'll find them online at twobettiesclean.com. Discover why the only thing better than